Good morning and welcome, my friends. Yes, this is a live edition of the Flipside coming to you on this Friday morning, February the 28th, a little after 7 a.m. Pacific Standard Time. This will be a relatively short podcast. Reasons for that are numerous, but the most important being, although there are many pluses about living south of the border, like non-GMO food and a relatively inexpensive cost of living, there are a few drawbacks, and the drawbacks are minor in the big scheme of things, of course, unless you are doing a podcast. Although some of the locals who have been here for 10 years or longer tell me that the quality of internet connection today is far superior than it was a decade ago. With that being said, let me just add, they still haven't perfected it. And so from time to time, unfortunately, we do lose connection, and subsequently we get bounced off the air. So I hope that explains some of the broadcasts that seem to be somewhat erratic. The things I want to draw to your attention today, I think, are pretty significant. And I'm not paying any attention to the revised GDP figures that just came out for the last quarter, which were revised downward. Nor will I be commenting on Janet Yellen's statements yesterday about the fact that the difference in the economic data from the time she gave testimony before the House Finance Committee and when she gave her testimony yesterday before the Senate, in large part is the problem that was caused by bad weather. Outside of that, as expected, Janet Yellen said absolutely nothing different than she said before, and that the Fed was mindful of the economic data when it came to its decision on tapering. She pretty much said what a lot of folks on Wall Street wanted to hear. But there is, in my opinion, a much bigger story out there that I think, to be perfectly honest with you, could quite easily turn into a game changer. Besides the ever-present flock of black swans that are circling overhead. However, for the first time this past weekend, the Financial Times of London published a story about manipulation of gold prices, and it was reporting on a report that was issued by an analyst firm that did a in-depth investigation into how gold and silver prices were fixed on a daily basis in London by Barclays Bank, by Deutsche Bank, Societe Generale, and HSBC, and it concluded that there was no question that there were some trades that were conducted that obviously indicated collusion and manipulation amongst the major bullion banks. The strange thing about the story is that it appeared ever so briefly before it suddenly disappeared from the pages over at the FT. Thankfully, somebody with fast fingers from the GATA organization managed to get a screenshot of the article in the FT. Now, when a story of particular significance hits a major financial publication, it's always interesting to see whether other mainstream networks will pick up the story. Needless to say, I was pretty impressed this morning when there was an article in Bloomberg News with a headline that says, "Gold Fix Study Shows Signs of Decade of Bank Manipulation." And it is talking, in large part, not only about the conclusion reached by the independent analyst firm in London, but also based its conclusion on numerous other sources, both in the US and in Europe. And it's pretty evident, based on the blatancy of the manipulation that took part, that we are going to see in the not too distant future a multitude of lawsuits filed against the major bullion banks. It is probably during those investigations that the real surprise is going to be unleashed on the world, and that is the criminal banking syndicates in Europe and the United States have absolutely zero gold in their vaults. King World News this morning has an article under that very title, and he had a chat with Chris Powell over at GATA. Eric King asks Chris Powell this morning, Chris, obviously we've had the Western mainstream media put out a couple of stories in the past week openly discussing the price fixing and manipulation that has taken place in the gold market. You have to think like a criminal when you are dealing with Western propaganda and the use of the mainstream media as a tool of this propaganda. What is the West up to with this open discussion of gold market manipulation? Chris's response to Eric was, I am suspicious that this latest reporting by the Western mainstream media openly discussing market rigging in gold is somebody's scheme to conceal the most important role of this manipulation, which is that of the central banks. I have been nudging reporters at Bloomberg and Financial Times for years to report on this illegal activity. I've been providing them with documentation. In many cases, case-sensitive government documents which expose the surreptitious manipulation of the gold market. My friends, as I said, this is going to be a relatively short podcast because I am fearful I will lose my internet connection. However, let me be a little brazen here, and if this short podcast has tweaked your interest in any way, shape, or form, I strongly suggest you go to my website at robbienull.com. You will find the article from King World News, U.S. Secrets, Criminal Banking Syndicates, and Empty Gold Vaults, together with the article from Bloomberg. I've also added a video where there's a group of Chinese businessmen having a discussion about the U.S. economy, and they all seem to agree that the so-called recovery that everybody wants to believe in so badly is fake. As I said, this is going to be a relatively short podcast just simply because I think I only have a small window of internet accessibility this morning. But it's my hope that I will be able to do a full hour this afternoon with my usual guest, Charles Carlson from Straight Gate Ministries at 4 p.m. over on the micro effect. I just felt that these two stories, taken as a whole, not only confirms what we have long said about the manipulation of gold and silver prices, but it should also help reinforce those who may have lost faith in the fact that sometime soon we will see $2,400 gold and $140 silver. And both Jeffrey and myself would be more than happy to answer any of your questions. You can call us toll free at 855-289-7587. If you wish to send us an email, you can do so as well. You can find all the links posted on my webpage at robbienull.com. So this brings to a close this edition of the early morning Friday Flipside report.